All right, so I see that a lot of people have already joined us. I would like to welcome everyone on behalf of AMP. Thanks again, everybody, for being here and welcome to the AMP Web Talk Day 2. I'm your host today. My name is Humaira, and I am the Operations Manager at AMP USA. Along with me, we have Mr. Mohammed Shansha Ansari, who is the President of AMP USA from Columbus. I would like to introduce you all to the speaker of the day, Mr. Shah Siddiqui Saab, who is the CEO of Reed Academy, and he will be taking a live session today on the topic English communication and business writing. We also have with us Mr. Saeed Sahab, who is the Director Technology at Swift E-Learning Services. I request Mr. Saeed Sahab to talk about the LMS, that is Learning Management System, for a few minutes before we start our live session with Shah Sahab. Over to you, Saeed Sahab. Thank you.
Thank you, Mira. And I welcome you all
Thank you.
for this second day of this session. So basically, for those who have joined, for the first time today, so all the lectures that we have, on the webinar, okay, there is a learning management system that we are offering everyone. And that learning management system is basically an interface wherein you can access the course contents, the slides, and also there is an assessment of 10 questions that would come up. So the importance of this learning management system is that after 10 days, meaning after the webinar is complete, you would get a certificate, and for that certificate to be granted, okay, it is very important that you finish all the assessments. I have posted the link in the chat box. So I'll quickly share the screen right now, and show the way it is actually done. So this is the link that is already shared with you guys, ampskills.swifthcm.com. And when you run this, okay, there is a sign-in page that comes up. And if you are the first time user on this LMS, so you just click on sign up. And once you sign up, okay, a sign up page comes in wherein you have to just enter your details such as your first name, last name, email, and give a password. And once you confirm the password, okay, you are signed up, and then you are taken. Okay, let me quickly, do it. So I would just, do a demo user right now, demo user 0107, and demo user 0107 at swift.com. Okay, your email ID is your login ID. So please make sure that the first name and the last name what you're entering is right. And you give a simple password that you can remember. And once you give it that, okay, agree it and sign up. So it's a free sign up. So once you sign up, okay, you get access to this course. So to this library page, this is the dashboard. And all you have to do is you just have to, click on this particular course name. As and when we move on, okay, more courses would get added. So today is the second session of the business writing course. So, but the course has already been uploaded. So just click on begin to get started. Okay, when you click on begin, you would get this introduction here, and just go through this introduction. What are the different modules in it? And then there is an e-learning course on business writing e-learning. So business writing e-learning course. So an e-learning course would actually be played here. Okay, so be a little bit patient when the course loads, and depending upon your internet speed, okay, the course would get loaded. So I'm receiving some email saying that, the course is not loading quickly. So please make sure that, you be a little bit patient. You should be able to access the course as well. So you can click on start and then get started from here. Once this course is complete, there is an assessment module. Then this assessment module, okay, is very important for you to get your certificate. So when you click on assessment, okay, so here this screen would come up. Total there are 10 questions here. So very simple questions, again from the same course. So take the assessment from here, and then you can get started from here. So all those 10 questions would come, one by one. So you can just, answer those questions. And once you finish those 10 questions, your results would appear there. Okay, you can retake the assessments as many times as possible unless you're satisfied with your result. So this is about it. And as and when we add in more courses, okay, you should be able to see, okay, in the dashboard, okay, so in your library section as well. And the certificate would be enabled only after all the I mean the entire soft skills phase 2 webinar is complete. Until then you will not be able to access the certificate. So this is it, and if you have any technical questions, I'm available, and then you can ping in the chat box. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Saeed Sir, for this information. I'm sure it is clear to everyone how to log in or sign up into the LMS. Now, before I hand over to Mr. Shah Siddiqui Sahab, I would like to tell you about the session. We will be having 7 topics. Every topic will take 2 sessions. Hence, every week we will be having one topic in 2 sessions. So same time, it will be 7:30 p.m. to 9 p.m. Indian Standard Time every Monday and Wednesday. Kindly note this. Okay. Over to you, Shah Saab. You may proceed now.
Welcome back, everyone, to the day 2 of our English conversation and business writing session. I hope you all can see me well as hear me well. Would like to thank you all once again for joining in, and I do appreciate your logging in on this live session. We would start out a bit with the catch up and on the feedback from what we have received, mostly the queries that I saw. With regards to the queries, I would like to reiterate that this is about a holistic approach to English conversation, which means that we're just trying to take a look at the big picture and how to get into perfecting our conversation. And conversation includes the nuts and bolts, the tits and bits, starting from the grammar to the phrases to the idioms. And then we started out by choosing to pick on pronunciation and accent, okay? And we had 2 options basically, but it's up to you all to decide which way to go, which option to go. And, it was seen that, we would be mostly inclined to the US accent and their pronunciations due to the fact that these modules that we have been following and that you would be checking as well as viewing on the LMS are all developed in the United States. So that would actually help. And then some of you had a question about the reading material, and I did give out, quite a few references, but I would like to reiterate on our LMS system, and especially the video that is being played for you all to view. And this voice in the video, the e-learning module, is an American voice. So here is a perfect example for you all to start out on getting yourself familiar with the suggested accent. So since the LMS is open for you for a week on this course, and we have been trying to look into different ways into getting or perfecting our English conversation to the extent that it's near perfect or close to near native. So for this fact, I would like to say, which I missed yesterday, to view the e-learning module, listen to it, because the terms that are being used in there, for example, if it starts out with a paragraph, it starts out with a proposal, or if it starts out with communication, those words are the exact words or the accent that you would have to catch. So it would be a lot easier for you all to start with this video, try to listen, watch at least once or twice a day, or as many times as you'd like for the entire 1 week that's open for you. All right. So these words, when it gets, watched over and over again, and then being, listened, these gets absorbed, and then you would have a right accent. So you would start out with a few words, but that's how you would build on your vocabulary. And you might run into some idioms in there, not sure, as well as the slang. But I think that's the best way to start for now, as long as the LMS is open for you for a week. And after the LMS is done, or after you're done with the course or the series, then you will have your own references to study or to work into. Some of you had very good questions yesterday about how to build on it. And most of the stuff is being covered in the slides. And talking about the slides, I would like to say that, the slides only help you in getting introduced to the module, to the course. It doesn't help you in learning anything. It's just a summary version of the student manual that's been uploaded on the LMS. So be sure to check out the student manual and read it from there, make notes, because that covers everything. In fact, the slides are being made are from the manual. So it wouldn't be a good idea to have access to the slides because it doesn't help. But that has been the tendency. You only need the slides when you are presenting something, but when you want to learn the module or the topics relating to conversation and writing, you would just have to read the manual and do the activities that have been uploaded, and then continue with your reading material. So the slides are not going to help you. It's not like that we don't want to share the slide, but that's how the slides work out. And those have been customized a little bit for the specific module, may not relate to everyone. But that's our course, a systems approach or a holistic or a macro aspect to English conversation. And I started out with some grammar topics like tenses. We talked about it a little bit, and I told you not to read too much about it because those might be confusing at this time. And if you're learning the language as a second language, then it's better to really understand what tenses are and their extensions. But if you already know the language, you don't have to confuse yourself by trying to spend more time on the tenses. It's how you get to the end. It's how you get to the flow and how you get to the fluency. That's the purpose of our course on the conversation part. And then, as I said, they both complement each other. Here I'm referring to the writing, the later part of our module. But however, I said writing is a different animal, a totally different animal. So you have to get out of your conversation skills and then build on your writing skill, which might be a long journey as well. So these are the two things, that I wanted to talk about, and references will be forwarded to you as you move on. You will run into a lot of references, but I think right now you should just focus on the LMS because it's only open for you on this course for a week, which ends the coming Sunday. And then your e-module video will not be available, and that's the best way to catch on or start with the basic terms that we're referring to here and get the right accent. Okay, so this is the purpose, and that's the way to go. And then later on, you'll have your journey, which will begin after we end this course towards, the world of conversation. All right, so that was, a basic, catch up on, what we had. And about the topics, once again, we'll take a quick look at what we did, and we have quite a few modules, quite a few slides to continue with. And then I would always be open for your questions toward the end of the session. And as ever, you can contact us in the future too. And just so you know, this module is not interactive, as this is a one-way, that I'm speaking, so I can't really question you, and I'm not familiar with your ability to converse and to write and to focus on specific terms. But we'll do our best, as I have customized the first part relating to conversation and then moving forward. So I guess we can now continue with our slides, focusing mostly on the writing aspect. And then we will finish up our 2-day session today on business writing, including English conversation. And then be sure to write it down in your writing journal, whatever questions that you may have, whatever topics you run into. And this is a very vast area, and we're doing our best in this 1.5 hour session that ends today. So I am going to get on with our slides now. Just give me 1 second. I think that's where we left off. So we'll start out with our next module, which is writing paragraphs. So we started out with some basic areas, including the parts of speech. And we talked about separately the use of the slang and the idioms as well as tenses. So with that, words and the ability to join words, join phrases, join um, words, you would be moving up to the basic parts of your writing area, which is writing sentences or paragraphs. And then paragraphs here refers to, the building block of your writing language skills. And then we can have it looked at in parts as to how a paragraph is built on. And once we look at how a paragraph is built on, we'll take a look at how a paper or a complete write-up is, being built on the basic structure. And then from that, you would use this knowledge on composing the advanced area, which is writing a report or writing a summary version, or doing documents such as business plans or executive summaries and so forth. So there are three basic parts of a paragraph: writing a sentence, and then this starts out with a topic sentence, and then the middle part of the supporting, and then the closing. Now this looks very simple from the topic wise, but there's quite a few things that are to be learned. So there are different ways of starting a sentence. It depends on the document that you have. If you're writing a social note, these rules would still apply. You would start out with something general, as they call it, in your day-to-day conversation, some general topics, or some icebreakers, as we would like to break in. And most importantly, in the American slang, the small talk. Okay, so whenever there is a conversation, a meeting, a business meeting, or any kind of specialized topic discussion, it always starts out with small talk. As you all know what small talk is. It always starts out with, the how the day is going, how the traffic was, how the weather is. This is very important, although this may not be proper in many cultures, in many areas, but this is how you would start out. And it's okay to talk or to do small talk with anybody, regardless of the rules that we have looked at, regardless of the seniority, regardless of the knowledge involved. Small talk is small talk. And this is mostly seen in conversation, but this could also start out with writing. I've seen many documents that start out and jump to the point. Okay, no, we start out with, introduction, or we start out with getting to the point. And then the point will take you to the central theme. So you have to know that when you write a document, or when you write a letter, or when you send a message, or even when you send an invitation, on a business note or on the business site, you do have to have a theme, okay? And you do have to find something to introduce, not yourself, but the idea from the background given to you. So whenever there is a proposal, which from your side may be just to add a contact, or just to introduce yourself, or just to gain a connection, you need to have a connection, okay? And you need to have something relating to the general areas of business, relating to the person that you're trying to connect. So it might be very normal, standard for you all to send a message, on the social media, or say, for example, on LinkedIn, I would like to add you to my connection. But that's really, really not, a creative way, especially given for somebody who's trying to understand and gain foot in the area of English conversation or English writing. So you really have to have your own way of presenting yourself. And this is how the main idea of the paragraph or all the sentence writing comes into the picture. So you would start out not by a standard, a generic way, but by something different. This is how you would stand out. In the past, you had a question about how to get those job offers, or how to get into those big corporation. And this is the time where the competition is huge, and then the market is very, very regularized, and it's very, very tight. So in this area where you have to really stand out, and this is only done through your writing skills. So if I haven't emphasized enough, you have to know that there is always a way of doing it. It has to be different. It has to be long. It has to be in detail, and it has to connect with every aspect of your document. So you would start out with an introduction or a supporting document, okay? And then you will jump on to the topic, and then you will close. You cannot just write, I need this and this because I am looking for a job. No, you just have to introduce yourself. You have to, as they call it, a phrase or a slang, beat around the bush sometimes, okay? And sometimes you have to cut the chase. However, you have to relate to the idea that you have in your mind, whether it's for a proposal, whether it's for a job description, or whether it's for sourcing a vendor into your organization, or even hiring a candidate. So this is how the writing will help you. And there are some tricks that you would learn as you see on the screen. You have to keep your main idea central, okay? But you have to explain it in your own way. Outline first before starting on any writing. So there are some sample writing samples that you can find on internet, what you can see, but depending on whatever your day-to-day requirement is, you have to follow the rules, but be creative. But don't jump on to the main idea before you talk about yourself or before you connect. And if you're connecting with somebody, an organization for a job posting, a business, to procure a contract, you do have to start out with something general, showing the relationship, and jump. But if this is a document where you have been communicating on a repeat basis, then you don't have to do that. You can jump to the point if it's a repeat document, if you've already done it the first time. But the best way to initiate a business proposal is to start out following these rules. From the main idea, you jump to the subject, and then you give out information, and then you have a closing argument, which you would end. But many a times I read documents which are, just, out of the context, and there would be people hardly who would pay attention to your writing, okay? And if your letter stands out, chances are you would get a call right away. You would be receiving a feedback message, or at least, a status message on your request. So that's about the organizational methods. And this is a short module. However, paragraph is the building block of your document. And there are different ways of writing the paragraph grammatically. One is to indent the paragraph. It's really up to you. And the other way is to just start out without indenting the paragraph. But that's, once again, not very important as long as your language and the words are being properly written. Let's take a look at this short video. I think this focuses on how to have your paragraphs.
Karen needed a detailed and thorough paper on the current business plan. She needed to organize her paragraphs so that she could better express the ideas in her writing. She started by making an outline on her paper. This allowed her to see a sort of map of her ideas so that she could have them organized as a whole. Then she made each paragraph make more sense and added to their readability by organizing the sentences into the topic sentence, the supporting sentences, and the closing sentences. When she stepped back and took a look at her work, it was exactly as she wanted it.
All right, so you're into writing sentences as a part of your paragraphs, and then you moved ahead, and this is one way to handle it. And I would always suggest writing long paragraphs and editing it later. And as I have mentioned to you yesterday, we always have to do the systematic checks on your paragraph. And then we have the word processing document to do that. So it would be, you know, a waste of resource if you are having a paragraph but not doing a spell check. And that includes your grammar, synonyms, you know, the required exclamation. But sometimes a sentence could also be taken as, you know, an erroneous statement due to the software. So once again, we all know the computer is a dumb machine. You just can do so much you can do. And as you go on doing editing work, okay, which is different from spell check, and as you move on towards writing, you know, business documents, you will see how you would have to do your work and also have it reviewed, you know, live in person by somebody who has knowledge of the document. So that would be proofreading. All right, with the paragraph, let's go over these a few small questions. Take a look at it. You know, the answer is here on the right. So writing interesting information is not a part of the basic paragraph writing structure. You need to start with TSC. Remember the initials TSC, the topic, supporting, and closing. Okay. And here in the topic sentence, you can bring in the small talk. Which of the following statements is not true? This is to emphasize once again on the three basic parts of the statement. No. There are three basic parts, but not four. I hope you all can read the others. It's better also to read the other answers. What is not a trip? Don't enrich your information, okay? Don't make it, you know, something too good to be true. That's what they said. What is not true? When you begin writing a document, it's recommendable to have a central idea, but it's not necessary. It's always important that you have a central idea. And then when somebody reads the document, believe me, they are going to, you know, skim through your statements, okay? And if they can get the idea, then, you know, they will read it further. And if they don't, then it might just be in the trash can. So all your efforts will be behind. And this applies to your other messages too. Any small message that you send on your business group, as well as an email. So we will talk about, you know, the importance of having a central idea, starting from the subject line, when we talk about, you know, how to compose emails the right way. All right. With that, we will move on to writing meeting agendas. Now, we all know what an agenda is. Is an agenda important before you go to a meeting? Yes. Who writes an agenda? And is it better to do the homework with regards to, you know, the topics to be discussed in the agenda? So whether it's a small meeting, you know, or a group discussion, or a stand-up meeting, as they call it, it's always good to have a meeting agenda. If it's written down, it looks more professional, but for a regular meeting, when you have it every, you know, every day at a certain time in the morning, you may not. And then if you already know the topic of the agenda, then you may not have to do it in writing. But it always starts out with writing a meeting agenda. So once you are into writing, and once you are into, you know, properly drafting the paragraphs, and once you are into writing documents, then this is also going to facilitate your meeting agenda. I have seen people, managers, who used to just scribble points on the meeting agenda and come to the meeting, which is fine, but as long as you have a meeting agenda. So in business writing, homework is very important. Prep is very important. You need to have, you know, spend some time before getting to having your document ready. And this is what we will look at starting this module, as to how important, you know, these writing of documents following the proper procedures is, and also having it proofread and also having it checked. So here's some guidelines towards the basic structure of an agenda, but it doesn't have to be this way. This is just a standard way. It depends on your industry, depends on um, your area, and it doesn't have to be this way. But here's the basic procedure. So you need to start out with your background, date, time, location. If it's a meeting, at a remote location, then of course you need to inform where the meeting is. Many a time in different corporations, in big corporations, I have seen meeting locations change, and sometimes they are remote, sometimes they are in different buildings, sometimes they are so far off. So you need to have the location emphasized. It's very difficult sometimes to even find a small, room to conduct your meeting. So this is all done by your logistics department, and they sometimes have specialized software to view where the meeting would be. So the location is important. The purpose of the meeting is important. The advanced prep guidelines. As you can see, the person in charge for each items, and then the approximate time to be spent on each item. Time for your meeting is something that you do not mention in your agenda because it's always different, but it's always advisable not to have a very prolonged meeting. The standard recommended time is 30 minutes to an hour, or maybe a little more. But that's how, meetings are held, and this is off the agenda. And you have to know that executive management, senior management is in meetings sometimes all day, if not half day. So that's how, their business hours get spent. So you have to have the consideration for, the different meetings that they have to go through. And then a part of the meeting area is also to write down the minutes of the meeting. I'm sure you are familiar with that. So minutes of the meeting also have a very specific format, but when it comes to noting the minutes, you just do it the way you want it, okay? But then when it comes to posting the minutes, there is a proper format, okay, and how you would start out. There are some legal terms that it starts out like, quorum, and the call to meeting, and then people voting, to start the meeting. So all these are the basic, standard ways of posting the meeting agenda, the minutes of the meeting as they call it. However, you have to know that, the posting of the minutes is a responsibility authorized, by the meeting committee, and allowing somebody to make the minutes, write it, and post it. And then posting is also having a specific format, like I said. So this all is once again utilizing your writing skills. So as we move on, let's see. Choosing a format. Like I said, there are some rules, but it could be any specific format. And you have to know when the attendees are going to view the agenda. If the meeting is not to be decided until a certain time, then you don't want to tell them what the agenda is. And if you think it might have a conflict or a bias, you may not talk about it. If it's a surprise, then of course you don't want to write the agenda. But these days, when we have these web meetings and invitations on the computer and the internet, usually the agenda is mentioned, and then the purpose of the meeting is also mentioned. However, sometimes it might be confusing because only very little information is given on the agenda. On writing the agenda, you would start out with the priority items, the logical flow, and the timings. This is once again, a part of writing your agenda. Of course, the priority items are what you want to spend the most time, okay? And then the less priority items would be towards the end. And the person who writes the agenda will also follow, the clock to see if they are running out of time. Sometimes the meetings are carried away, as they call it, gets carried away, goes out of time, and then we have to stick to the time for having a regard, for the time and for the meeting, so it doesn't exceed the requirements. All right, another short video on writing agenda.
Jenny was preparing for an upcoming meeting, and so she decided to create an agenda. She wanted to include details about what the meeting was for, what the attendees might need to bring, and when the meeting should end. She made sure to keep her thoughts logical and brief, but also actionable, so that they would contribute to the flow of the meeting rather than clutter it with unnecessary ideas or suggestions. She also made sure to give enough time for each subject to be discussed thoroughly so that her approximation of the end time of the meeting would be more accurate. When the meeting came to pass, it ran smoothly, all because she made sure everyone was prepared.
So it would not be a good idea to run past the time that has been allocated on the meeting. In fact, this is one of the most important things, for you don't want to be running out of time or running short of time. And this is especially true for whenever you have web meetings, because there are time slots allocated. So that's about it on agenda. And there is a format to be followed, although, it's better to have it at least in writing, and then having the points, prioritizing it for the flow. Meeting is an important part of the business transaction, and without the meetings, there are no transactions held. There are no projects, procured. There is no scope, that is expanded, that is being, utilized. And there is no closing on a business evidence or a business encounter without the agendas. So it always refers to the minutes whenever there is a discrepancy, whenever there is a...
Jenny was preparing for an upcoming...
All right, we're gonna skip the questions and move on to the next very interesting module, which is writing emails. We all have been writing emails for a long time, but have we been following the right etiquettes of writing emails? I still run into very, very funny email, but the good thing is, it is the most effective medium to conduct business. There was a time when they were not emails, so you could imagine how difficult it was. Okay, so we have, a very effective medium to conduct business communication, but then, this makes it more effective if proper writing procedures and rules are followed. So many times, business managers are not familiar with the writing etiquettes, okay? When it comes to writing emails or even sending messages, same etiquettes follow, okay? So if you're writing a message on your business WhatsApp group, then obviously this is a business writing and you have to follow the etiquette. So we'll start out with how best, to avoid foxplot, which means how best to avoid, errors during your email communication, or how best to have very effective emails, or how best to have the best written email. Because remember, every email, as I say, has to be strategic. And only an email an email message that's strategic stands out. And this makes it very clear to, or at the receiving end, by an individual or a team or your supervisor, whoever are direct recipients of the email, as well as indirect recipients of email, and not to mention the blind recipients whose email address is hidden, for them all to see how effective your message is, how effectively the message has been communicated, and how conveniently the message has come across your side. So this is the beauty of having an effective email. So how difficult it is, we will look at it. It shouldn't be, as long as your business communication is in line, and as long as your writing or the English writing or the business writing is in your grips. And once again, the effort that you have put in from your basic, grammar to structuring paragraphs is being applied in writing your email messages. So don't think that there is only a need for writing proper messages or proper paragraphs in a business proposal or a business plan or even, in a, project report. It starts out with your basic email writing messages skills. And this also applies to your WhatsApp messages, because that is also a medium of communication that we have to consider. In fact, this is more prominent now than writing email. But to utilize your systematic checks, it's best to have the messages written on a device or on a desktop, which will help you utilize all these tools. So you can have the spell check, the grammar check out of the way on your messages, even when you're in a hurry, okay? And then you can also have your wordings, the languages taken care of, and maybe cross-checking, doing research on the internet while you are on the desktop. So for business writing, it's highly recommended that you have a very strong system when it comes to writing an email. It would be a bad idea to write a very important message from your phone, from your device, which is restricted, okay? Which does, auto correction, okay? Which would very easily be ignored. And remember, this is all going back to our modules relating to your psychological area. It has nothing to do with your linguistic area. The mind reads what it reads. So if I were to give you a statement which is jumbled up in the meanings, your mind will still read it. You may have run into the exercises where there's a paragraph with all the words, in each, all the letters in each words are jumbled up, are not in order. However, you would still be able to read it. Why? Because it has something to do with your mental ability to understand the word. So if you can do that when there is an error, or when there is a word that is jumbled up with all its letters, then it's very easy for you to have a word that is misspelled in your message. And having a misspelled word in your sentences is too silly to do it, let alone, having awkward sentences. So a person who is proficient in reading and writing messages will never have an awkward sentence. An awkward sentence is a sentence that is seen, dysfunctional, a little different. This is more of an unofficial, unsaid rule. And then academicians can very easily figure out what an awkward statement is. So this is something that you want to do. And the worst thing that could happen to your email message or any message is to have a misspelled word, okay? So these are very simple things. I'm sure you all are already have this in your system. I don't have to say it much, but I'm just saying it just in case. So what are the etiquettes of writing messages, whether it's an email message or a WhatsApp message? Obviously, we don't have a module on WhatsApp yet, but it would be the same thing if we were to write a WhatsApp message. So let's take a look at what the proper etiquettes are. We'll start out with the to field. We'll start out with the CC, BCC, and then the wording of the language. All right, you all know what to stands for, what CC stands for and BCC stands for. I'm sure everyone has used it. And if you don't know what CC, it's carbon copy. It's a very authentic word derived from the time where we used to use typewriters for word processing. And in the typewriter, we would insert a paper. And in the paper, we would have a carbon copy and a paper underneath a carbon copy. So you get to have two copies while you do it. And then came these electronic typewriters where you could process one sentence without giving a print command, okay? But that's still ages. I'm sure most of you, have not even seen this era. But anyway, these words come from the time where CC refers to carbon copy and BCC refers to blind carbon copy. But what is important here when it comes to addressing your message? Number one, two are all direct recipients who you're trying to communicate your message, send the message. CC are not the direct recipients, but are the ones who you would like to be in the loop, okay? Or who they would like to be in the loop, like a supervisor or anybody who is trying to be a silent spectator for the sake of records. This is more of a legal issue. And of course, BCC are the recipients who are not willing to disclose their email address. This is also a very, tricky address, or more so, a very critical address, Okay, critical way of addressing it. So you want to be sure, okay, that the recipients that you have in BCC remain blind throughout the chain, throughout the thread, because you don't want at some point in time people to know that there was this person who was blindly or who was being a blind recipient. But this is against the etiquettes. This is against having your employee, um, against our employees' morale, or having an employee morale down, or having a distrust, or having, lose your employee loyalty or their, expectations toward the company. So you have to be it's a critical area where BCC, is used. So I'm sure you all have been very, very careful about this. Grammar and acronyms. Okay. We have, once again, our word processing ability to check on the grammar. But of course, there are sentences that could be, falsely corrected on using your application, or some false sentence could be correctly, accepted in your processor. So there's only so much you can do with your application, but there are different ways of having it cross-checked, having it double-checked. There is another application known as Grammarly, used by students, okay, which is going both ways. It will help them build on a paper, but it will also help their teachers know if there was any plagiarism involved. So there are different ways, but don't spend too much time or money trying to get these applications to correct your English or writing, but work on it on your own so you have, a good understanding for its, future use. Never will you should text speak in your messages. What does text speak? Is how you speak is how you write. If you're trying to write the and instead you use D, just the letter D, okay, and for you're just using you are, is totally, totally unprofessional. You can do it on your own social beastly side if you would like, but never in the area that we're talking about. You need to use proper capitalization and punctuations. Very important. And emoticons, of course, no way. Synonyms, acronyms, you have to be careful. However, one thing that you need to avoid is using caps or all caps in your message. People still do it. And along with all caps comes having some letters or some words or the entire sentence bolded. Even words would be bolding it in red. And then it would be a disaster to have 1, 2, or 3 lines of your email message or even a WhatsApp message bolded in red, okay? And you know what it means, although many people don't know. It would mean like you are screaming, shouting at the person. So if you know the etiquettes of writing, then you know that you will never want to be standing in front of your boss and shouting it to him, or even your colleagues or your team members. So just write it normal. There is no need for you to even increase the font. There is no need for you to bold it, okay? Even though it may have, a dollar sign or talking about payments, and never ever color your words or sentences. All right, these are very, very basic skills, but I'm still gonna cover here. There's much more towards writing emails. Many common errors. People are in a hurry to write, and they think if they send an attachment, the email is complete. If there is an important report that is due at 5 p.m., all you do is have the recipient attach the report, send, boom. That would be the worst thing that you want to do in your email. Anytime you have a message, anytime you have an email going, you need to have a paragraph written in the proper format. which means that you will start out with a supporting statement and a closing in addition to your attachment or whatever it is. Because of our inability to communicate properly, the application, the softwares have been, intelligent. Gmail was new back then. Without the Gmail, a lot of people couldn't live. So Gmail is making you guys even more easy. When you have an attachment and you don't, it will tell you, okay. And there's something that's missing. It might try to be a very intelligent, um, um, internet application or a messaging application. So here, what I mean to say is when you have an attachment, use the same format. And if it's say 5 p.m. and you're about to leave, don't ever do that, because your message will be totally not strategic. So when I say strategic message, every email message would have to be strategic. That includes your WhatsApp messages. What I mean strategic, it has to have a proper, communication format. It would start out with salutation. It would start out with greetings. It would start out with the purpose. And you can even say that this is, me writing at 5 p.m., and trying to get the message across as the deadline is due or as the deadline is close by. And I would quickly like to say a few things that, this is what was causing me hindrance. And then if you don't write all of these messages, if you don't follow the proper rules and don't include it in your body, then it becomes less effective. Even words would be your capabilities as a member of the team or as the leader or whatever you stand. So what you do want to do is write unstrategic emails at 5 p.m. You can see what I'm saying on the slide where, I'm missing a letter. So I am guilty of my own speech where there is a letter missing here. I just noticed it now. So obviously it was done in a hurry, right? And obviously, this is a negative on my part. So this is a good example, and that's about how much I can emphasize on. So writing emails, don't be in a hurry when it's 5 o'clock. Make sure it's strategic, okay? And make sure it's, following all the guidelines. And most importantly, be sure to be consistent. Don't write, something that you could have done better because you're in a hurry. So let's watch
Victoria
this.
wanted to write 2 emails. One would be given to her partner and would be read by everyone on their team. The other email would be sent to everyone in the department, but the information was only relevant to certain members. However, everyone needed to stay up to date. The first, she used the to field on. This ensured it would go to everyone and everyone would know it was meant for them. The second was given to everyone, but only the partner needed the information. Everyone else received the email so they could stay informed and up to date on the current project and its progress.
All right, that was something basic on to
Victoria
CC.
wanted to.
All right, we're gonna skip this and move on to writing business letters. So we're now at a business letter. This is the most important aspect of your business, writing letters, okay? Whether you are a job applicant or a distributor or a vendor, the only way you can communicate is when you write a business letter. And we do it on our everyday life. Just like how, an email message is important, same is the case with a business letter. So if you're writing a message on the business networking side, that is nothing but a business letter, okay? If you're sending an invitation on the business networking side, it is of value because this will lead you to a business letter. So like I said, with the writing, the only thing I can tell you is to follow all the rules. And even an invitation that you send by just clicking is not appropriate. Even whatever 100-worded sentence that you need to have that's being allowed for an invite would have to be proper. Okay, it's better not to use the customize and then to stand out. And this is how you get noticed. This is how your writing skills are, visible. So let's take a look at what the business writing letter part is and what the structure is. And the most important format that you can. Business structure, sender's name and address. This was more of a protocol in the past. Now this has gone down, but it's always better to write it, okay? Whether you're copying and pasting it from your Word document or composing it right into the body of the message, it's better to start out with, the sender's name and who you're sending it to, date, salutation, a subject heading. These two can be interchanged, okay? And then you start out with an introduction, a supporting, a closing, and the name. This is a basic structure, but try to follow it. When it comes to writing the letter, it depends on where or who you're writing. If this letter is in response to a request sent to you, then you would copy it or parts of it. And then the basic requirements are purposeful. It would be known as a purposeful action. Remember, in business writing, we always have to be having a letter that comes up with a purpose. We talked about this yesterday. Positive, of course, spell and grammar checked. Personalize your business letter. Now, personalizing your business letter is also a very specialized topic that we will talk about. But the only thing I can tell you is whenever you're writing a letter, keep the first part personal. Try to look at something, do some research, and try to come up with something, okay, that connects you. Otherwise, otherwise you would look like a stranger. So even though you may be communicating for the first time, it would have to sound like as if you have a purpose and you have been in communication and you have a reason and you have a relationship with the other end. So that would be the way of personalizing letters.
John needed to write a letter to an applicant who did not get into the company's internship program. To start it off, he gathered information on the candidate, such as their name and address, to head the letter. He kept the tone of the letter as pleasant as possible, even though he was delivering rather unpleasant news. John knew that it was vitally important in business to keep a pleasant attitude and tone in all matters to help establish and keep up business relationships. He also made sure to use correct spelling and grammar and to personalize the letter so that the applicant will feel assured that they may try once more in the future.
All right. Business writing is very sensitive, very also important. It's a great skill. So sometimes you have to be the recipient of bad news. Sometimes you're reaching out to the person and giving out bad news. How would you do it? Okay. And you can look into the slangs, the idioms that we saw and how well you can euphorize it, how well you can give out, very, very negative information in a positive way. Although you cannot say anything but the truth, but this is important. This is one area of business that you have to be very, very careful. So very strong corporations do send out a rejection letter. Some organizations, they don't care, okay, but they explain it. So it's a matter of, it's a sales job. It's a, sales pitch that you have to use. But this is a long topic and we're running out of time. So I just want to say that business writing would also have to be, meeting the sensitivity of the recipient. Because many a time there is bad news that is being conveyed. All right, writing proposals. Okay, we're moving on from a business document, a business letter, to a proposal, which is once again writing. But remember, proposal is the best thing that's going on if you can run into a proposal. If you receive a proposal, that's a very good thing because it could be a proposal for business, a proposition, okay, a prospect, a contract that they are likely to, have you as a part. It could just be a job. So let's take a look at how to write proposals and how the proposals are taken at the other end. How would you make a proposal worthy? How would you make a proposal invite, people with a pitch, with a sales pitch that will give them a chance to introduce yourself, give them about their own prospects, at the same time, take care of your needs, the needs that are mentioned in the proposal. So when you send out a proposal, you would start out with some information about you. We'll start out with company overview, statement of the problem, background and benefits, scope of services, contact details, and references. So this is what you would need, in a proposal. It's known as proposal request for business, or request for evidence, a request for additional information. So these all things are, the legalities, the legal aspects of a proposal. And the best thing that you can do is respond to the proposal in the right way. This could be also an unsolicited bid, which means that they haven't invited you, but you're still sending your company background, your prospects about how you can handle the services. And sometimes based on your research, you could do an unsolicited bid, which is, cold calling, as they call it, reaching out, okay, without any invitation. And then many times the business gets done closed, even though it may not be an unsolicited bid. But if it's a solicited bid where the company has already given out information as to what they need, then this is in your best interest to do your best in responding back to the proposal. So how would you format it? It would be depending on the intended recipient and scale of the project. Remember, when there is a proposal or a bid for a qualified pitch or a qualified feedback from a company like, for example, Microsoft, or a smaller company like, say, for example, whatever company you want to take, a big corporation, then your proposal, then your response back, or then your bid will have to be covering all the different aspects of the individual department pertaining to the scope of work within the corporation. So there's a lot of work to be done. There's a lot of research to be done. And this is where your English speaking skills come into the picture. Remember, when the project is being given out, what they're going to look at is your technical skills, of course, your ability to deliver the deliverables, but then their ability to communicate, especially when it's a multinational project. So with all the talk we did about, having an English, or having English communication worthy of a land ruled by colonial, let's say India, then you have to make sure that you stand by it. So if there is a proposal coming all the way from the United States, chances are it gets done it gets approved in India because of the English speaking talent. Now, I also said yesterday to drop everything and to work on perfecting your English speaking skills and get to the near native, ability, a near native English speaking area, because you all can, and you all are eligible to do this. Now, we talked about the background of it. India is, most of you had some queries yesterday, I could tell. And I would like to tell you that India is supposed to be having the largest pool of talent in science and technology. But when there was Russia, okay, it was probably India the second. Even though Russia is now gone, into small parts, India still remains a top leader when it comes to English-speaking talent, okay? So this is very important for you all to be near perfect or absolutely near native, speaking, and it's something that you all can do. And if you don't, then it's below your capabilities. And when it comes to a project that is coming from overseas, it's only because of your communication skills. That's the first part. And then the project gets delivered based on your technical skills, but it comes in based on your communication skills. So there was a time when we would get bids from companies, in India and from China, okay, for US projects. And obviously the Chinese would be nowhere close to the Indian proposals that were sent back. So if an Indian proposal would be a 100-page document, which it used to be really good, impressive, a Chinese would be no more than 5 or 6 pages. Although they were probably better off cost-wise in getting the work done, but it would be the Indian company who would still get it. So I don't have to say much because of the IT hubs that we see. So this is all, project writing, communication, and your ability to deliver based on your English speaking skills. Some tricks for writing the proposal: it has to be targeted, well substantiated, persuasive, and organized. Well substantiated is what you claim in your proposal with the facts and numbers would have to be substantiated based on your ability to portray it, give it in writing as to why you can deliver it, okay? As to why you can meet, and you have to go all the way from a management perspective in meeting with the company's mission and vision and trying to say that how their strategy and your strategy are in accordance and how you could meet their strategy at different levels, which is from a unit level to a strategic level, incomes, operational and tactical level. All right, quick on this video.
Joe had to write a proposal to an old business partner to the company. He wanted to demonstrate that the new service they had to offer was in the best interest of the partner. The service was rather large scale, so he went into detail on how it could be beneficial while not trying to sell the matter, as they were already business partners. After going through each bit of information in detail, he arrived at the bottom line: the price. His proposal was so detailed and the bottom line was so well presented, the old clients now have an even stronger relationship with the company.
All right, so your proposal would have to be, credit worthy, which means that you would have to establish a relationship, as well as the best way is to throw in as much information as you can, following the rules. So if you think your proposal or your business document should be 2 pages, make it 4, okay? And later on you can edit it. That always helps. I've seen some people write very, very emotional sentences. Okay, that's not allowed. And in writing an email message or a business report, don't use dear, okay? Especially on a business letter. You can use any salutation but dear. And especially in the American system, when you write dear, it's supposed to be somebody very close to you. It'd have to be your beloved to write dear. So don't write it, okay? Although it's written there, okay? I think they're getting used to it. But a lot of other cultures have brought it. But dear is not required, okay? And words like, emotionally disturbed is not required. A calamity has struck. Don't write it. If you have been late, or if you have been less than proficient in anything, or being tardy in delivering a report, don't say that there was a death in the family. Don't say that a calamity has struck, okay? Don't talk about the earthquakes and the hurricanes and the tornadoes in your business letter. Everyone knows about it. Even during the crisis, they don't mention now, although you can once in a while, okay? So this is all, the writing etiquettes in general. Now comes the report. We have the same, way to follow the structures. A report is a final document based on a completion of the project, a delivery, and or something, that needs to be started, that needs to be initiated. So there would be a report. If you have a conference, you can do a report on that. If you have a project delivered for the first time, you can do a report on that. If there are some lessons learned from a specific delivery of a project, you have to do it, write a report. And if there is a project delivered in a third world country and there is some sustainability about it, draft it as a report. So the project scope, or the scope of work, is the basis of writing a report. For all those PMP professionals, I'm sure you all know how important it is to elaborate on the scope of work. But that's the format to follow. Choosing a format, it would be up to you, but you have to remember the purpose, the seniority of the reader, who is the report intended for, the level of technical knowledge, the scale of the project. Use the standard protocols. These tidbits are all in your student manual, so be sure to write it down if you don't, and you can find it elsewhere. So when you write a report, the purpose, objective data, its analysis, and then directly convey it to your audience.
Karen had to write a report for the CEO. When she was given the assignment, the first thing she asked was for more details on the specifics of the report. Since it was for the CEO, it needed to have details that would be relevant to the CEO. Karen made sure to keep it strictly factual and objective, leaving out any personal feelings on the subject matter. She had an introduction, the body that she filled with the facts and statistics, and the closing. The CEO was happy with the report, and she successfully helped him and the company.
All right, so seniority is very important when it comes to writing and communication and conversation. So I don't have to say how you would address the report to the board of trustees. How would you address the report to the executive committee? How you would refer it to a principal or a chief, okay? And I don't have to say how you have to report it to your senior managers. Other type of document, this is something supplementary, but there are other type of document that would follow the procedures. And remember this by PPE: proposal, projection, executive summaries, and business cases. Some of you have to do executive summaries. That's also a very talented, that's also a very great skill that you have to learn how to present the entire project, the business case, in the form of a executive summary, because only the top management will look at the summary. They're not going to look at, you know, the entire report. So we would start out for request for proposals. Okay, it's known as RFP. How would the proposal be viewed? You know, your contract information. So like I said, if there is a request for proposal, it's the best thing for you to respond back to, because it would be a solicited bid where your information would be looked at, would be looked upon, would be entertained, and you don't have to worry about having it rejected. But of course, if you follow the proper rules, especially the writing, presentation, you won't have to worry much. Projections. This is usually a part of the business plan. You know, you all know what projections are, whether you are a business finance student or not, you have to learn how to do projections. It's best done on an Excel sheet. You would have to look at your income statement. It's usually the future performances, you know, on a spreadsheet. So if you have a quarterly income, you can project it for the next quarter and the next quarter. An yearly income, you can project it to the next year and so forth. And a monthly cash flow scenario can also be projected. So this is an estimates of future performance. This has to be substantiated with data. It's best done on any spreadsheet analysis package or an worksheet. And this technical side, this projection cannot be audited because this is a proposed prediction based on your present cash flow. So feel free to project it the way you want, 10, 20%. It's not a part of your audit, nor a financial, nor an internal audit. And you can just substantiate your future cash flows as a part of your business report or as a part of your business plan. Executive summaries, like I said, this could be a 1 or 2 page document. It would start out with to, from, you know, what the requirement is, you know, and what the purpose is. Senior executive will only look at the executive summary of a project. And if they see some gray area or some shady stuff, then they will go into looking into the actual project. Same is the case with business cases that could relate to your organization or one department or one specific project. And then this will be, you know, used as a study for all future scenarios for different employees, different level. Business students learn a lot from the business cases.
Mitch needed to write a request for a proposal and a projection for the company. He didn't have any set formal format for the proposal request, so he wrote a 2-page informal request that simply asked for proposals. When he went about the projection, Mitch made a slideshow and had illustrated graphs to better show the statistics and figures in the projection. Overall, his request was met with a plethora of proposals, and his projection was spot on and helped the management get a better idea of the future of the company and how it should be approached.
All right, that's the purpose of projections. And lastly, we have proofreading and finishing. How would you proofread? You will read the document. Just like when you go to an exam and you do not, review your paper, your answer sheet, then chances are you have made mistakes. So same way you would proofread. Now there are some rules of proofreading. You have your computer, your spell checker, and grammar. But once the document is done, it's better to proofread it taking a break. Even better would be to have it done by your colleague or somebody who's specialized. It's known as a peer review, okay, and preparing a manuscript for printing and publishing. So, it involves to be reviewed at different stages, in different ways, online or on the screen, hard copy, and before it's being sent out for publishing. The best way to have a proofreading primer is to not read right away, okay? Go slowly, take a break, come back and look for errors. So you won't get it. And the more you proofread, the better it is. When do you need to proofread? When you have to do a submission. So when you have a report to be submitted to your superiors, make sure you have proofread it. If you have a paper to be given to your teacher, your professor, make sure you proofread it. And the best way would be to take a break and have it done by your friend or somebody who's familiar. This would be the last step towards getting your document delivered, and be sure to print preview it. Otherwise you will be wasting the paper, if not anything.
Jenny and Perry had their reports finished, but still needed to proofread. In order to get the job done effectively, they needed a second perspective, so they traded papers and performed a peer review. They both spotted some areas that needed improving, and so they both improved their reports. Before printing them out to be delivered, they made sure to check the preview of the print. Perry discovered his settings were wrong, and he set them right before the printout. When the reports were delivered, they were well proofread and printed out perfectly.
All right, you have to be stupid not to proofread many times, because this is what we'll get. Sometimes the document is long enough, but you think, it's right. So it would be a very, very silly mistake not to have it proofread again and again. So I guess that's about it. We're done with our business writing course, and there was a lot to be covered. And then we tried to have everything in there. Like there would be one course just on proposal writing. And of course, there's PMP, the project management course that you will cover. So for those of you who are interested in writing proposals, business cases, or just a report, which is a specialized area, this comes under documentation. So I would encourage you all to work on this separately, and whatever your area is, pick on it and focus on that. So that completes our 2-day session on English conversation and business writing. And not to be sad about it, we will be continuing with our journey into communication by our next course, which is communication strategies, starting next week for 2 days. So I am pretty much done, and I would once again encourage you all to read what is on LMS and listen, especially for your English conversation. And other than that, I'm pretty much done now with this course, and we have very little time left for the Q&A, but I'm open. So I thank you all, and wish you all the best with completing your post assessments and understanding, and most importantly, listening to the videos. All right, admin, take over.
Thank you. Thank you, Shahzad, for such a wonderful session. It was very informative. Let us now move on to the question and answer round. I will be taking the questions one by one to you. So the first question is, how should I prepare for IELTS exam? Is the exam pattern is different for different countries?
The voice is, slowing down. I think the internet, I don't know about my voice. But if you're
so
referring
shall
to
I read it again?
Yeah,
Yes, it's IELTS exams.
Okay, well, that's a very specialized exam and based on the British curricula. So, I mean, that's a very specialized field. Here we're talking about business. Over there, it's purely, English, and it's purely language, and it's purely literature. So that needs a lot of, work, needs a lot of vocabulary, conversation writing skill. It's very best to learn IELTS from a British teacher or a British system. That's all I can tell you. Next.
All right. So the next question is from Mr. Aftab Alam. How many pages can we write as a proposal?
How many pages?
How many pages we can write a proposal?
Well, it depends on the project, what the requirement is, but write more. If you think 2 pages will cover the topic, you start out with, introducing, supporting, and the main topic, and try to work. I have seen in business, the more you write, the better your proposal will be viewed. So write more and then get it reviewed and bring it down, scale it down to the required. But if you think 2 pages are enough, I would recommend you all to write at least 4. Okay. The more you write, the better it is. Next.
All right. So the next question is from Imran Khan.
Okay.
As you said, we should not mention dear in the official emails. Instead of dear, what other word would you recommend we can mention?
Well, don't mention dear at all. Okay. And write Mr. or Miss, no Mrs. Okay, Mr. or Miss, or you can just start in the American system. It's best to start with the first name. And then you can, one way avoid it, if you don't know if it's a man or a woman, male or a female, you can just say greetings, okay? Person's names like Louis, who could be a man or woman. Greeting Louis, comma, or exclamation. Or you can say greetings from your company, comma, the first name, and do it. And you know, it's proper to use in the American system, Mr. or Miss with the last name and nothing with the first name. And it's okay. And it's okay. So even though you may be writing to your professor, it's okay. They're okay with you using the first name. All right. But never dear unless it's beloved, like I said. No, don't do that. Next.
Yes. The next question is from Aftab Alam. Is there any format for email or WhatsApp writing messages?
Same format, like I said on email. Same format. Use it, make it best. And then I would recommend you, especially for your business WhatsApp messages, to compose your message on your desktop and then send it through. So it has to be word processed on an application and then copied and pasted. Because otherwise you cannot compose it properly. It will look professional. And no emoticons in your business messages.
Yes, definitely. So
Sure.
the next question is from Miss Indra Srinivas. She's asking, do we need to write our assessments daily?
Assessment for this module? No, you just do it once after the end. You finish reading and then take the assessment. If you don't score well, you can, I think, retake it. That's check with Mr. Saeed, those are the elements. But read your manual.
Yes, yes.
And the cases that I have, in the manual are being depicted on the video. So every video that you see is based on the cases. So that's what will help you with the questions. Next,
right.
Please.
So for LMS questions, Saeed Bhai will be taking a few minutes to speak. So it would be great if you don't write LMS questions right now. We will be taking questions specific to the topic only.
Yes.
So the next question is from Mr. Lal Ahmed. Is it recommended to write an email on capital letters only?
Well, I was clear. If you write an email in capital letters, that would be like shouting or cursing your recipient. Okay. So, I mean, this is too silly to even ask here. But I've seen people who write in caps messages, and that only tells that the person is not illiterate. Okay. So you have to be totally illiterate to write a message in caps. I hope that's clear. Next.
Yes. Next question is from Imran Alam Saab. English writing in business and education sector are different. How can we improve English writing in education sector?
Well, education is more logical and more appropriate than business. Okay, business uses different colloquial or formal text speak stuff. So learn the school stuff better, and that's what will teach you. Remember, school comes first. Okay. I once had a teacher at the University of Chicago. He was a great teacher, and it was a humanities course. And he told in the first class, he was bold enough to intimidate every student, saying that in your papers, in your submissions, if you don't use the proper language, if you don't write it well, if you don't have good English, I will not read it. Okay. So take your teacher strictly. That's what helped us in getting to the level of writing. So take your English or any business or, you know, related schoolwork very seriously, because that's what will teach you. So your academic submissions and learning is more important than business. That's why you go to a school. Next question.
Yes. So because we are having very less time, we will be taking only 2 questions now. So the second last question is how to end a business letter.
How to end our business letter? You would say
Yes.
that thank you for your time in this regard, and I look forward to furthering our communication. Okay, I look forward to furthering our dialogue. You just have to give them, you know, a chance to get back to you. And then you can even say that if you're being a bit aggressive, I will follow up with a phone call, or I will follow up with a further communication next week. So always end to the point. Don't just leave it, up in the air saying that, thank you for your time. Okay. Just say that, I look forward to furthering our communication. I look forward to moving ahead in this. I look forward to delivering this, whatever you can. So that's how you would end.
Okay. So the last question is from Sayyid Mahmood Sahab. He's asking, hi sir, sometime we have highlighted some words or numbers and make it bold to bring more clarity. How far is it right or it should not be written? Please advise.
Well, if you are highlighting a number, okay, or a deadline, or something, then it's probably okay. But let the reader read it, okay? Don't have to highlight. But if you are a service provider and the bill is due next week, after which he will lose his connection or his phone line, then it's okay for them to, highlight it, because it don't matter whether the person upsets you or not. But in business, in your organization, you are not to give an impression that you are being, out of courtesy, or you're being out of regard for your coworkers or for your supervisors. So even though you may be writing it to your boss, don't highlight a number. Let him read, okay? If he doesn't read it, he misses it and you will not be blamed. But if you highlight it, bold it, read it, then that's a very bad on your personality. Next. We have one more. Can I have one more question?
So we are in. Oh, okay. All right. So for email writing, how to tackle the situation if we don't get any reply from the recipient, even after sending many reminders?
Well, that's very normal. You write it again, okay? Email doesn't hurt, doesn't bother anyone. So you can send out or shoot an email every day. Okay?
All right.
That's
So
about
we are
it.
done with the question and answer round here. Thank you so much, Mr. Shah Siddiqui Sahab, for today's wonderful session. It was very informative, and I'm sure all the participants must have enjoyed it as much as I did. To
Thank
all
you.
the attendees, it was really fantastic to have you all on board today. We have completed our first module today, and we will be having our next module started next week. We will be meeting on next Monday, coming Monday, same time, that is 7:30 p.m. IST, that is Indian Standard Time. And our topic would be communication strategies and the day will be Monday, 6th July. AMP organizes these sessions by highly qualified professionals and experts in their respected field to share their learning and viewpoints to guide everyone with their own life experience. We request you to keep coming for these sessions. You can always spread a word about us and our sessions in your network. Keep yourself updated through our website, www.ampindia.org. www.academypvt.org/pastwebtalks. I will now request Mr. Sahid sir to speak about LMS for a few minutes before we end our session today. Over to you, Sahid sir.
Thank you, Humera, for that. And thank you so much, Shasab, for your inspiring session. As always, it is always a learning experience for each and every one of us. Yeah, so I will just share my screen right now. And in the beginning of the call, I had showed how to sign up to this LMS. For those of you who've joined late, LMS is called as a learning management system, wherein you can access the reading material for the sessions that are being conducted. So this is the link that has been put in the chat box, ampskills.swifthcm.com. So once you hit that, and if you are signing up for the first time, use the sign up option. And in the sign up option, there are few fields that are asked for: your first name, last name, email, password, and then you confirm the password and then just sign up. So the moment you sign up, okay, I've already signed up here a little while earlier. So I'll just log in. So the moment you sign up, you would see a dashboard. Okay, so this is the dashboard wherein we would upload, subsequent courses from here. So those subsequent courses would be, we've uploaded the business writing, and next week when we are done, with the communication strategies course, that course would again get uploaded. So to access this course, you would see a button here. If you are accessing for the first time, you would see a begin button, but then because I've already accessed, so it says continue. So when you click on this button to get started, so you would see that a learning path would come up. So there are three options on the left hand side. So these three options, first is the introduction. So this gives you an idea about what is this course all about. So you can just go through it. And second one is the actual e-learning course. So this e-learning course is the slide format of what Mr. Shah Sahab has just explained. It is not an exact copy of it, but this is more detailed what we have right now in the business writing. And I'm seeing few queries where people are asking that once they come to this course, they are not able to see the assessment. So there is an option here shows as hide learning path. So when you click on that, okay, when you click on that, okay, you would see this option here. Then you can take the assessment from here. So there is an assessment after the course that comes up. So this assessment is required for you to take if you want to get the certificate. So there are 10 questions that would come up here. So when you click on assessment, you would see that there is an take assessment option. So just click on that take assessment, and there are 10 questions that would come up. You are supposed to answer 8 right answers out of those 10 questions. So you please make sure that you take the assessment properly from here. And once you answer those 8 answers right out of 10, you would be seeing your assessment result. So then if you score less than your expectation, you can always go and retake it. So there is no end to it. So we want to make sure that you get the best of the result. So you can just mark the questions over here and then click on next. So if you take those 10 questions, finally you would be done with the assessment portion of it. So once you're back, okay, you can see your result from here, meaning your course result, okay, completed or not. So one common query that I'm getting is that the users are saying that they've taken the assessment, they've taken the course, but still the status shows as incomplete. LMS marks the status as complete only when you take all the slides in the e-learning course. Even if you skip any one of the single slide, okay, in that case, your status will not be completed. But never mind, your certificate will still be issued as long as you finish your assessment. So we would encourage you to take all the slides of the e-learning course. Even if you don't mind, okay, you will still get the certificate. Yeah, so this is it. And one other query what I'm seeing is that people are asking, how do you check your assessment result? So very soon we would add an option here to check your assessment. So right now your assessment results would be shown only once you complete your assessment. But if you want to revisit that, we would soon add an option here to check your assessment result as well. Okay, so this is it on the LMS side of it. And if you have any further questions, okay, you can please ask, either in the email, so we would be answering them. And one important thing that I would like to mention is that this course will be available only till next Monday. So after the Monday, after next Monday, 6th of July, you will not be able to access this course. So you have 1 week, to get enrolled and access this course and also finish your assessment. So after 6th of July, this course would become inactive. So you will not be able to access and you will not be issued any certificate from here on. Yeah, so this is it from my end, and good luck to everyone. Thank you.
Thank you, Said sir, for this information. So if you are willing to be a part of AMP, you can always visit www.ampindia.org/joinamp. And I will repeat that next session, for our next session, we will be meeting on Monday, that is 6th July at the same time, 7:30 p.m. And our next topic will be communication strategies. Don't miss these sessions. They will definitely help you all in your career growth. Thank you. So I'm Humaira Kabir, signing off for today. Thank you.